Oh, this is a super janky setup. I've got the camera in a bar clamp. It's like a squeeze clamp thing. And that's stuck in a lawn chair, like a patio furniture chair, ride iron type thing. Super janky. Whatever, it works. And after a move and you've got all your stuff put away, or rather, you don't have all your stuff put away, and you don't know where everything is, then you make do with what you got. Throwing away a box, putting that away to the recycle. Okay, today's chat. I know you can't even see me, but I've got this new mic, so part of this is testing out this mic. I'm gonna walk into frame now. Doop to doo, here I go. Hey, here I am. Whoa, look at that. I'm in frame. You should be able to hear me just fine. I think I'll just go for about half an hour on this one or so. This light's gonna shut on and off because I am going to wander. And today, I am. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Bitcoin than the most recent couple of chats that I've done. I've talked a bit about counterfeit cards or proxy cards, whatever you want to call them. And there's some people that would think that that was really messed up, and there's other people think that that's being super dishonest and disingenuous. And honestly, I don't really care, because as I made it abundantly clear, or I meant to, or I tried to, in I believe the most recent video before this one, the previous video I should say, that if your intention is to make a profit, and I don't mean by playing the game, because that's not what I can talk about that in a second. I mean by flipping the cards, selling them, or trading them, or in some way gaining a monetary, material profit from the cards themselves. That's messed up. That is wrong. It's dishonest. It is disingenuous. Should not be done. You should not go to your favorite proxy counterfeit retailer and purchase cards from he or she in the hopes of bamboozling other people, fooling them. That is super wrong. I cannot be more adamant and clear about my stance on that. Now, on the point of using those cards to play the game and winning some tournaments and maybe walking away with some monetary prize, some rewards in the form of a PS5 or some rare cards. Maybe you go and there's a full suite of dual lands, one of each pairing up for grabs in a big tournament. That'd be like a maybe they're not all super good quality. They're all played or damaged quality. And so the value is somewhere in the let's say $6,000 to $10,000 range. I'm guessing. How many is there? 10-ish? I think there's 10 of them. Each one say 800. So yeah, six to $10,000, depending on whatnot. And it's $100 buy-in. It's a big legacy tournament in an area where they know that they'll draw a lot of attention. They've marketed this thing, and you go there with your deck that has a number of proxies in it, and you win. And you win all of those. And you decide to turn around and sell them. You're thinking, or you hang on to them. Is the question here is that wrong? If other people have showed up to the tournament and they have used real cards and you have not, and let's say that there was no explicit arrangement. Now, if there was an explicit arrangement, then that gets into a different territory. If the arrangement was you may not use proxies here and then you enter anyways, then that's wrong because you're lying to everyone there by saying these are not proxies, and that's wrong. If somebody comes out and asks you, are those proxies? You should 100% say, yeah, yes, they are. Yes. Now, most people in most situations that you're playing at a legacy Friday Night Magic, they're not going to sit there and ask that. Like, I wouldn't even think to ask that about somebody else's. I mean, I might be curious. I might be wondering, holy crap, is this person really sitting down across from me with a, let's say I know that their deck is $10,000 or something, just by looking at their lands. I see that they're using beta lands. Now I might ask, are those really beta lands? And if they say yes, And their proxies, I, that's a some really gray, super dicey territory, because they could, and I'm not saying this is honest, I'm definitely not, but they could, the argument could be made that they are beta lands, proxies of beta lands. Now that's not really what I'm asking if I ask that question, if somebody else asked me that question, but if they're not beta lands or alpha or whatever, somebody probably isn't going to question whether you have revised or unlimited lands. It's those are what people primarily play with, the white border dual lands. So if you show up at a tournament where the agreement is proxies are not allowed and you have proxies in your deck, you've got counterfeit cards in your deck, then by signing on that dotted line and submitting your deck list, you're lying. You are lying. Now, if it is a proxies allowed event, then nobody cares. There's no problem there. Proxies are allowed here, doesn't matter. Okay, cool. People aren't going to ask. It's not going to even be an issue. Nobody's going to care because what the heck is that? Oh, it's a drone. I think somebody's flying around over there. Okay. Because nobody cares if you're playing with proxies or not. So some people will think, oh, those are probably proxies, and other people, it won't even matter. It won't even be on the radar. But if there's no agreement, there's nothing said about it, then what do you do there? If there isn't an explicit rule, rule number 4, no proxies are allowed at this event. Rule number 1 is make sure you've got that hygiene in check, you goofy nerds. The reason I'm touching on this is because I want to make it really clear. Oh yeah, it is a drone. Where I stand on the dishonest and honest part of things. Huh. What is this flashing red and green? Just zooming and flying going on a joyride, I guess? Sure, why not? And what that has to do with Bitcoin is there are a lot of dishonest individuals in the marketing world, in the finance world. A lot of them. It might be, if you ask somebody what is the most dishonest profession, I imagine many people would come up and say, oh, lawyers, those dirty lawyers, they're always trying to cheat other people out of money and bamboozle people and use the law to their advantage. Okay, I don't know if that's necessarily dishonest. I'm not that there aren't dishonest lawyers. Certainly there are, I'm sure. I don't know how a defense lawyer can really sleep at night knowing that he's defending somebody that is a clear criminal in some cases, not all cases. But if you asked somebody, do you think bankers and Wall Street individuals are generally honest or generally dishonest? I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of people said, and I'm saying like 51 or somewhere between 51 and I don't know, 60%, maybe as high as 70%. Yeah, probably generally dishonest. Now, if that was lower, and you then change the question instead to, like, I guess I could see it lower is my point there. Maybe it could be in the 30s or 20s. I would be really surprised if it was as low as 10% of the general populace thinks that bankers and finance people are generally honest. That would be really surprising. Or dishonest, only 10%, and 90 plus think that they're honest. That would be strange to me. That'd make me scratch my head. Now, if you turn the question into, what do you think of finance bros and crypto bros more specifically? I'm guessing that the percentage of people that think those individuals are dishonest, especially with what happened with FTX a couple years ago and everything there, and the general space of NFTs and crypto this, I'm thinking that most people, like a clear majority of people would say, oh yeah, those people are dishonest, grifters, liars, and charlatans, just across the board, snake oil salesmen, the lot of them. And I would have to agree. In the majority of cases, the people that I've seen in the crypto space are not good actors. They are not well-intentioned individuals. They are people looking to make a buck. There's Richard Hart of Hex. There's BitBoy of whatever he can get his hands on. There's Pomp and his rocket ship to the moon. There's all sorts of these individuals that have been less than class acts. And that has left a stain on the entire space. There's people like Sam Bankman Fried and that whole thing with FTX and Caroline, whatever the heck, Ellison, bugs flying around. Not not the greatest people. And I mention that because when I made that counterfeit video, the most recent one before this, the previous video, I posted it for some ungodly, stupid reason to Reddit. I guess my thinking was, oh, hey, maybe people here would be interested in my take on things. I have a high enough opinion of myself that I think that other people give two shits about what I have to say. Why am I even posting these things online if not for people to listen to what I have to say? I guess the main reason is because I think that I'll make a connection with people. Maybe somebody will pop up in the comments and be like, hey, I like the way you think about things. If nobody ever does that, then okay, whatever. I've got these as a journal. And I write enough in other ways or about other things that this is much easier for me to do. Just talk and get my ideas out. And I think it helps. It's a exercise, as in you're working out and you're exercising, you're doing that kind of thing, whatever the fuck that was I just did. But then there's also the exorcising things, like a priest goes into a demon-filled home and gets rid of the horrible spirits. There's that sort of exorcising, and that is the primary reason that I do these talks. As I outlined in, I think, the very first one of these bustonomics, I don't even know if this is a bustonomic, whatever. I think I said that this is it's therapy for me. It's me to get these ideas out, talk, look at them. Oh, okay, now it's out of my head. What does that mean? How does this look? Why do I think this? And the reason I'm making this particular one about the dishonesty in the space and people being dishonest is because I don't want people to see me and my talking about Bitcoin as somebody being dishonest, somebody trying to grift them out of their money. I want them to see Bitcoin as something different. There's not much I can do for somebody to see that, because for some people the damage is done. They think, oh, that stuff, that crypto stuff, oh God, get it out of my face. It's all hogwash and nonsense and lies and people trying to bamboozle and cheat other people out of their money. And with certain cryptos, the vast majority of them, actually, like basically all of them, except Bitcoin, as far as I can tell, that is true. That is true. You would be true 99 out of 100 times. And the only time that it's more like 40,000 out of one time. Because so many of these Pepe coins and this coin and whatever, the Shaq coin and the this coin and the Scotty Pip, I don't even know if some of these have coins, but the pizza coin, the frog, the dog, the mouse, all people, every day there's some new coin, some new meme coin coming out. And every time it's the same grift. And a lot of people know this at this point with those coins. They fully understand that the whole game is get in before anybody else does, and then time the top, do the best you can. Oh, it's going up to 1 cent, and I bought 30 million of these coins, or whatever, 10,000 of them for a hundredth of a penny a piece, and now that it's at half a cent, I just made $10,000, or whatever the math comes out to be in that case. And people do this. And if you are in sooner than later, then you can make some money. And other people are stuck holding the bag, and you get out and you move on. It's a Ponzi scheme, more or less. And that's generally what I thought of Bitcoin for a long time. And until you do the requisite research on Bitcoin and you ask the questions and you go, okay, what about this? What about this? And you just poke and poke and poke and you try to find the holes again and again and again. And I did that. I did that for more than a year. Well, what about this? Can the government shut it down? Well, what about somebody that controls it? And every time I asked these questions, I came away with the answer of, no, it's not what you think. Nope, it's not what you think. No, the government can't shut it down. A government could shut it down in their country. Sure, they could, or they could try to at least. There is one way that Bitcoin could be shut down, but that answer is so absolutely ludicrous that when you tell somebody what would have to happen for it to be shut down, they go, "Oh, that can't be true." Is the first response. There's no way. And then if they do the research and they look into it and then they realize that what you said is true, they go, "Well, that's just never going to happen. That can never happen." And what that is that every single government across the world is in agreement about shutting down the internet and going into every home and finding every single node that has a running copy of Bitcoin on it. And last time I checked, there was something in the range of 19,000 known nodes. There's who knows how many others that are hidden through different masking methods and Tor and this and that. So I don't know how many more. But let's say there's another 1,000 or 500 spread across the world. Where are they? I have no idea. I have no idea. There's some exceptionally clever people in this space, really deep thinkers that have thought where to put things. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a node on Elon Musk's satellite, or a few of them. I don't know. Sailor with all the gains that he's made at MicroStrategy, it's the last I knew, one of, if not the most successful year over year in percent in gains company in the market, like hands down, not even really close. Oh, what about Nvidia? No, it's beaten Nvidia. And all they've done, besides sell whatever products they sell, these different accounting things and whatever they do there, kind of like Adobe and whatnot, Microsoft in a way, is hold Bitcoin. That's it. That's it. They've hold the most pristine, rarest, hard to accumulate, impossible to replicate asset in the world. And you hear these things about Bitcoin and you go, that just can't be true. There's no way that it would take a coordinated effort of every government to shut Bitcoin down. That can't be accurate. That can't be true. And then sometimes some idiot will come along and be like, well, what about an asteroid, bro? What about nuclear winter? What about a sun flare? What about a Carrington event? What if all life on planet Earth is completely wiped out? Well, did you just hear yourself? I, yeah, what about your Bitcoin then? Well, I guess if everybody's dead, then, well, you see the, then no, there won't, yeah. That if everybody's dead, 100% of life is wiped out in some cataclysmic, apocalyptic end of, truly, the end of the world is split in half because a moon-sized comet came straight, I don't even know, whatever. A sun flare, the likes of which has never been seen in all of recorded history, just roasts, turns this place into Mars, just cooks it. Yeah, yeah, then we're all dead. And money is a extremely distant concern because everybody's dead. And so, yeah. Yep, yep. I hope you answered your own question there, you goober. That's the answer with all of those. The nuclear winter. If everybody's dead, then everybody's dead. Then your gold, your money, your ammo stores, your, your Pokemon cards, it doesn't matter. There was a guy that I came across the other day. I was going to a thrift store to get some of this stuff, get rid of some of this stuff with the move that we've done recently. And just, okay, we don't need this anymore. That is one benefit about moving. You go, oh wow, look at all this stuff that was in storage and or tucked away in a box or in the bottom of a drawer. And well, I haven't used this in 2 years, 3, 5, whatever. Let's get rid of that. So I've done that with a few things. And I was at the thrift store and I was wearing my Bitcoin hat, simply Bitcoin hat, and the guy goes, "Oh, you into that Bitcoin?" Yeah. How long you been into it? About I got in early 22 or so. Oh man, yeah. I've been thinking about day trading. Oh, okay. I wouldn't. No, why not? Do you? No offense. Maybe you're the smartest guy in the state. I don't know. I didn't go on to say you're working at a thrift store. You might be. There's geniuses where you least expect them. I just went on to say, but do you think that you can outsmart the massive hedge funds that are on Wall Street, the trillion dollar, multiple trillions of dollars, BlackRock and Goldman Sachs and Fidelity, who spend their entire days and livelihoods and have more money than you or I can even really wrap our heads around, spent entirely on doing the thing that you want to dip your toe into do and do in the afternoons? Do you think you can beat them? I didn't say it in quite so many words. I said something about like there's. Do you think you can beat Nancy Pelosi with all of her insider tips and the political connections she has? You're like, oh, that's a good point. Like, you. It's a losing proposition. The people, it's like a 99.7% losers rate. I think you actually have a better rate at playing blackjack if you know what you're doing. You don't even have to count cards. You just have to have a decent idea of how to play blackjack, and you'll make more money doing blackjack than you will trying to be a day trader. How do you pick the winners? If it was so easy and anybody could do it, then everybody would be doing it. It is not easy. There are so, so many ungodly factors that go into what moves the markets, and this company goes up, and even if all of the price of wheat is spiking, that doesn't mean that all of the companies that do everything with wheat are going to go along for the ride. It's just, and you don't have the algorithms, you don't have the machines, you don't have the super instantaneous ping, zero response or 2.1 millisecond response ping times because you've got the pipeline that's got a direct line to. You don't have all that. They have so many little tricks and technological advances and pieces of the pie that you can't even fathom to play that game, and you're coming in to try and take a piece of their pie. You will be ruined. They'll take your money and won't even blink when they run you over on their path to making ever more money. And I said something to that effect. That I was real quick. I said, I don't know if you're, no offense, but I doubt you're the smartest guy in the state. And do you really think that you could go toe to toe with the massive institutions on Wall Street? He's like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And like, how, so you think I should get into Bitcoin? I was like, I don't think you should do anything. I don't give financial advice. Maybe put like $10 into it with each paycheck or something like that. He's like, what? Just really just 10? And I said, well, the problem is if you put a whole bunch of money into it and then it nosedives like it does, then you get scared and you go, oh my gosh, it was at 60 and I bought in, and now it's going all the way down to 15 like it did back in 2020, 21, 22, whatever back then. Oh my gosh, I can't handle this is too volatile. It's going down. Oh my god, oh, I can't handle it. I gotta sell. I gotta sell. And you'd be at a huge loss then. And what? And what do you learn? And you probably just write off Bitcoin as this stupid thing and no, never again. I'm not getting back into it. Which is why I say just $10 until you learn about it. Like I wouldn't. I even hesitate to recommend somebody puts even a single dollar into it. Just put in what you're never ever gonna miss. If you can afford $10, if $100 is fine, if it's a dollar for you, do that. But then what you really should do is ask the hardest questions you have, the most difficult ones that you can come up with about what this thing is, and do the research. Watch every podcast that you can about it, read the books. There have been dozens of books written about what Bitcoin is and how it works and why it is the way it is. Lynn Alden wrote a massive book. It's not about Bitcoin specifically, called Broken Money, talking about how our money system is broken. And that's what you really need to understand. You have got to understand how utterly and royally fucked our system is. And yes, when I say our, I mean the US, but I also mean our as in the global, everyone in the world system. Fiat money, fiat, by decree. Other people saying you have to use this money because they were elected officials. They're people that were elected into power and they say this is what we get to do with money, and we get to write checks that go off to fuel the deaths of thousands of people over in other parts of the country. Do you want that? Is that something that you want? Are you happy that your tax money and the money that your government, almost certainly if you live in a first world country, writes checks for in a digital form, most likely. It's not like they're signing actual big paper checks. Here you go, Zelensky. Go kill a bunch more Russians that don't want to even be in this. The whole thing is completely and royally screwed. It's it's utterly fucked up. And there are people that think, oh, this is what we have to have. This is we have to have this to make the economy keep on moving. This is what we got to do. And anytime I hear that, I just go, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, there's really no point to even try and have a discussion with them because they're so utterly confused. Like, I'm going to end on this right here. You have got to understand what money is, why it works, and that is a deep fucking rabbit hole. And if you don't understand what money is and why it works, then you will not understand how Bitcoin fixes anything. You have to see the problem before you see a solution or even look for a solution. And then you have to be able to ask the questions about the problem to go, well, is this a solution to said problem? Does it fix this part of the problem? Does it fix that part of the problem? What about this? What about that? Da 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 da. Bing, 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 bing. And you have to be able to ask all those questions. I was at, I'm not going to be specific, but I was at a place recently talking to some people that I know, and I was talking about some politicians, I'm going to be super vague here, some politicians' ideas about this or that, and we got into talking about money. And aside from one of the people putting words in my mouth, I was like, well, then that's what you're saying. And I said, I never said that. I never said that. Well, that's effectively what you're saying. No, it's not. I know I'm being super vague here and it doesn't make sense, but the point to that conversation was this person, both people actually, really have no idea about how the economy works. And it's not like I'm some great economic mastermind or anything, but I do have an idea about what sound money is, what hard money is, why it's better for a people, for humanity, than a soft money like fiat money that can be completely printed at somebody else's will. Printed, there's no limit, there's no physical law of nature that says this is the cap of how much money a government can print. And once you reach this many trillions of dollars, you just cannot. There's no limit. And every time more money is printed, more money is funneled into the system, it makes the purchasing power of your dollars or whatever it is in your local currency, your monetary units, go down. Like anybody that's in card games knows this. This is why it's a direct connection to things like Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. Pick your favorite card game. Some cards are rare because there's less of them. They're even called rares, or mythic rares in the case of Magic, or majestics in the case of Flesh and Blood. There's, I don't even know what they're called in Pokemon, but holographic foil treatments, and there's these different extra special full art editions, textless editions. There are rare cards. There's a card in Magic the Gathering that is worth $100,000+ depending on which version you get. Tens of thousands of dollars for a Black Lotus. But that's because there's so few of them. If everybody and their grandmother had trash cans, hefty bags full, sheds full of Black Lotuses, they wouldn't be worth that amount of money. And people can wrap their head around that concept, and they're like, yeah, duh. Anybody in card games, yeah, no shit. Obviously, if everybody had 300 boxes, like let's say those 5-row boxes, and every person had 300 of them, completely filled, just stuffed to the brim with Black Lotuses. Black Lotuses would not be worth the amount of money they are. If Black Lotuses were as common and easy to find as basic lands in Magic, they would be worth the same as basic lands in Magic. Maybe a fraction more because of what it does, but we're talking about billions of basic lands that are in existence. Possibly, maybe trillions have been. I don't know about trillions, but certainly, unquestionably, millions of basic lands of all the variants. And just you can go to any card game store and say, "Do you have some basic lands?" Sure. Here's a box. Take what you want, please. We have more than we know what to do with. Every draft night, people pull out one of a box and they're thrown away. You want some draft chaff? Here's a 10-row box of 30,000 fucking cards we don't know what to do with. Take them. Please, just get whatever you want to do. Have a bonfire. That would have more value for you than it's doing for us just taking up space. It's actually a detriment to us. And yet people don't make the connection that printing more money does the same thing to their dollar. You go to work, you have to work for this money that other people can print. Well, that must be fine. That's what keeps the economy going. Blindly just sheep along for the ride, just walking along for the slaughter. As I've said and will continue to say, I don't know if Bitcoin is the answer to humanity's monetary woes. I don't. I don't. But I don't know of anything else that has a better shot. I truly don't. And I do know for a motherfucking fact that fiat currency is not the way to go. That is not what we need. That is what is hurting us. It is the problem. And if there's no solution, that's pretty disheartening. So I guess in some way, I kind of have to believe that there's an answer. Yeah, man, just put your money in the S&P 500. Maybe that is the answer. Maybe it is. And as more money is printed and these top 7 performers, which carries pretty much all of the weight of the S&P 500, continue to Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, whatever the top, and Nvidia, whatever the top 7 are. If the answer is that you just keep on shoveling a portion of your paycheck into the S&P 500, your 401k, various mutual funds, and they go up because the dollar, like, this is something else people don't understand. It's like, oh, look, this wind chime here is worth 100,000 basic lands. But now because they printed another 100,000, I get to demand more for this. Well, now that I know that there's 200,000 units in circulation, I'm going to charge 110,000 for this. Or let's say there's 1,000,000 units in circulation, so this is $10,000. 10,000 basic lands. And then the monetary units, basic lands, gets doubled. Oh, there was 1,000,000 units in circulation, now there's 2,000,000. Well, I'm going to charge double for this because I know that there's that many more going around. Well, if there's that many more going around, I want an equal share of that. And I was getting 10,000, whatever that is, that's a tenth, that's a hundredth. If I was getting a hundredth of that, well, now I still want to get my hundredth, so I have to charge 20,000 basic lands for the wind chime. So the value of the wind chime didn't go up. It's not worth more. It's just demanding more of those units, which is in effect the same amount. It's the same piece of the pie. That's why your home isn't actually going up in value. It's just demanding the same amount of pieces of the pie as the pie grows, the same percentage of the pie as the whole pie grows. But these are things that people don't know, they don't think about, they don't question. They just go through their life like, oh, there's more money in the system, and I got a 25-cent raise, so everything's hunky-dory. Yeah, the 25-cent raise that you got was, what are you at? Let's say $20 an hour, so it's not even a 20th, it's a 40th. It's not, it's, I don't, what is that in percentages? It's a tiny fraction. But yet the monetary units go up. Like here's productivity and here's wages, and then here's inflation. Like, or maybe I should do it this way. Is this right? Whatever. I don't know. Like, just read some books, listen to some podcasts, and come to your own conclusion. And maybe you'll come to something else. Maybe you'll go, oh, it's ammunition that I need. It's bullets, because those will always be in demand when shit hits the fan. Or like, all right, yeah, sure. Okay, okay, yeah. Hell, here's something that I feel pretty confident in. Buy fucking iron in the shape of weights. Seriously. You get about 70 cents to $1.20 depending on the shape of the weight and what it looks like. But kettlebells are about $1 a pound. Iron weights that you lift and do heavy stuff with, it's about $1 a pound. But why don't people buy weights to move around? Well, because it's really fucking heavy. An 80-pound kettlebell, if that's $80, is a hell of a lot more cumbersome to move around than 420s. Like, there's pros and cons to these things, people. Well, what about gold? Yeah, how do you move around with that? How do you get into another different country with that? How do you go somewhere with that? If you're in a place where you're going from this border to that border. I said I was going to end on that point, but there's so many places that you can go with this, and people don't fucking ask these questions. They don't get it. They do not get it. They'd rather hope that they can go and pick a couple stocks being a day trader than read a fucking book like the Bitcoin Standard, which will take you 6 hours to get through if you listen to it on YouTube at 1x speed. Double that up, 3 hours. If you listen to this one book for 3 hours, let's say you listen to it in 6 hours, the just 1x speed, you will know more about money, the history of money, and why Bitcoin is an answer to that. You come to your own conclusions about it, but you'll know more about money than, oh, I don't know, 98% of the world's population just by listening to 6 hours of content. That's all you got to do. Then after you do that, go and listen to the podcast between Lex Friedman and Saifedean Amos, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, and the podcast between Lex Friedman and Michael Saylor. And then your journey, if you're unconvinced that it's even worth looking at further than that, then hey, go on your merry way and do whatever you're going to do, invest in this and that, or just hope that governments become fiscally responsible, because that's never fucking happened in all of human history. Truly, it hasn't. Like, it doesn't happen. Maybe for moments in time, but not for, like, oh, this is the country that got it right and has been doing it right for years and years and years. No, the temptation when you have your hand on the money printer and you are a politician and you have the ability to just get free stuff because you can print the money, you don't actually have to go and bust your ass and work and break a sweat and hurt yourself or do anything like that. You can just beep money, and then you go and buy things with that, cars and vacations and trips and homes and time away and doing whatever you want, and all you do is beep while everybody else has to work. That temptation is way too powerful for basically everyone to turn away from, which is why we need something like Bitcoin where you can't do that with. I'll end there. Do your own research. Learn about this thing.